But really, it needs to start off. So you need to have an understanding of your business. You need to have an understanding of where you're going, who you want to be, what your goals are, what your objectives are, and then we tie technology to that. Hi.
Okay, we're just starting off like that. I was going to do a little intro amble, but this is way better. Welcome to a lovely chat with Kyle. Kyle is one of our, actually not one of our, he is our first broker consultant at Deliver Digital. He will forever hold the special honor in our hearts on that front. And so I'm super excited to have a chat with Kyle today to get to know him a little bit better, and mostly for you to get to know him a little bit better as well. I'm going to dive right into things, Kyle.
Sure.
Why don't you give us the 30,000-foot view, tell us about yourself, where you came from, and kind of a little bit about you.
Sure. I was born a long time ago.
Okay.
I grew up in BC, moved out to Calgary about 20 years ago. And when I moved out to Calgary, I started working with service providers and did some consulting for a while, did some practice lead, led a bunch of those practices, organizations, service teams. And that's kind of what I did for the last 15 years. And then now kind of joining the Deliver Digital team and helping organizations with their technology decisions.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to dive a little bit into that. So first of all, I'm also I rank myself as a BC person, even though I only moved there when I was 13 years old. Whereabouts in BC did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town called Smithers, up in the center of the province. Started school there, kindergarten, went all the way to grade 12, made it through there. I stuck around for a year and worked, made some money. And then when you graduate in Smithers, you kind of either stick around and work in the mill or work in forestry, or you got to move to go to school. So a lot of people move down to the coast, Vancouver area. Some people go out to Calgary, but I went down to Vancouver area and went to BCIT. Did a couple years there, met my wife, had a family, did a bunch of other training, went through the whole MCSE thing back in the late 90s, and worked for some large organizations, ICBC, Terrace and Pipeline, glass companies, some small .com companies, and then actually applied for a job in Vancouver. The guy's like, we don't need anybody like you in Vancouver, I need someone in Alberta. And he said, would you travel? I said, a little bit. And he said, no, I need you to travel like 90% of the time. And it was too much for me. So I said, why don't you just move me here? And he said, sure, sounds good. Pick Calgary, Edmonton. And I'd been to both and chose Calgary. And 6 weeks later, we were on our way out to Calgary and been here since. So
I feel like you're spoken like a true Calgarian, though, as you said, the Calgary-Edmonton choice with a big smile on your face.
Yeah.
You were ready for it. To not isolate anyone, I won't dive into that
it's
too much.
It's not bad. But it's just, like I said, I'd been to both, and I just like Calgary better. I just like the city, maybe not even the people. I'd only been to Calgary once and Edmonton once, and chose Calgary. So
unfortunately, this will be the last time you work with anyone in Edmonton. But,
I know. I still like Edmonton. It's just, they're different.
There you
go.
And
Vancouver's different. Every city, Western Canada's got lots of similarities, but business is different in each of those cities, right?
Yeah. What do you love about Calgary?
I love the people. I love that, when we moved here, families had disposable income so they could get out and do things. I didn't find that in Vancouver even back in 2005. I'm a Flames fan now. I used to be a Canucks fan.
Okay, but, I'm a fellow convert.
Yeah. So 2013 was the year that I made the decision to move over. But prior to that, if we went to a Flames game and they were playing the Canucks, I'd wear my Canucks jersey. But now it's all Flames. I like being so close to the mountains. Of course, growing up in BC, there's lots of familiarity with that here. But yeah, just overall, like the people. I like that there's the ability to get out and just do things. I just find that people are more friendly here. Yeah. Even now, going for walks with wife or family at night, people are making eye contact, smiling, saying hi. I don't see that so much in the Lower Mainland. So, I
love it. So a great Calgary feel.
Yep.
And then so when you're not working and when you're not consulting, what are some of the things that keep you busy?
Now it's sports for the most part. My family's a bit older. Kids are in their early 20s and off to school and finish school and doing their own thing. My son's actually moving out of the house in the next little bit here.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
So we had to be a reference for him for his first rental. So that's interesting. But I play a lot of golf and slow pitch in the summer, and in the wintertime I play a lot of hockey. And we try to get out. We're actually going hiking out in the mountains this weekend with my daughter. She's into that, so she asked if she want to come along. And so just getting out and doing lots of stuff, lots of walking in the neighborhood and stuff like that. We recently moved, so lots of yard work and sod and Last night at 8:30, my wife found online that somebody had a couple extra yards of dirt that they didn't need. So could we go pick it up? So thankfully it was in the same neighborhood. So we made about 6 or 7 trips with the vehicle to pick up some dirt. So
I'm surprised your back is holding up in the chair here.
Well, it's funny, right? If you don't do it, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. And I hadn't done it for a bunch of years. So the last kind of up until about 3 months ago, like my back, my knees, everything was sore. But now I'm just back into the swing of things, and it's not that bad at all. So, and my son helps out a lot too. He's stronger and can lift those heavy things.
You were more of the foreman on the site. You were pointing towards the dirt that needed to be shoveled.
He gets mad when I try to lift up things. He says, "Let me do it." I'm like, "I can get it. I'm not that old." Like, so he goes, "I know, but I'm here and I can do it." So, anyways,
there you go.
Funny, yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about your consulting work then. So I think that you mentioned you have a long history on the service provider side of things.
Yeah.
Can you dive into a little bit of what those experiences were? Because I know you have quite a varied set of experiences that really help you bring an interesting perspective to organizations.
Yeah. So I've worked with 6 or 7 MSPs or service providers in Calgary over the last 20 years. Most of the time in leadership roles, of course, recently. So I've led professional services and project teams, project managers and business analysts. I've led a ton of pre-sale technical solution architect teams. I actually led a sales team for a little while at one of my last roles, and then some managed services teams as well. Actually, one organization I was at for a period of time, I was responsible for their entire services organization. So managed services, professional services, project managers, architects, VCIOs, the whole gamut. So kind of seen a lot there. Worked with a lot of clients with escalations and helping to sell our solution and why this particular organization and why we can do the right job for you. So I've got a lot of experience in that space, and that kind of rolls into my consulting gig. So there's kind of 2 areas that I can help organizations out in. One is helping out MSPs with their organizational growth, with their service realization and optimization. So if they want to bring a new service to market, if they want to differentiate in the market, how do you do that nowadays? I see that what I see is that a lot of MSPs are doing the same thing, and they're saying that they're different. Oh, we do AI. Oh, we do security. But really, when you kind of pull the sheets back, so to say, they're all doing the same thing. So how do you differentiate in those markets? And then on the other side of the coin, helping out SMBs and small businesses with choosing their technology partners, right? So technology partners that you chose 5 or 6 years ago may not be working for you right now. So how do you see what they're offering? Is it cost beneficial? Are they providing the value? Are they doing the things that they need to be doing to provide technical support or an IT support function for your organization?
Perfect.
Yeah.
One of the things that I get asked a lot from people starting out their careers.
Yeah.
How can I get into IT? What's the best way to learn things? And I will almost without fail say that an MSP is, it's kind of death by fire, or a little bit of death by the sword, so to speak, because you get exposure to so many different environments, technologies, processes, and it's kind of a really quick PhD in how do you get a broad spectrum of technology right off the bat. One of the things I think we've talked about this too is if you're working in an organization, you can get really intimate with the technologies that are there, but you all of a sudden become really obsolete in everything outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And so that MSP education, I'm sure, just gave you incredible learning of how organizations operate from a technology standpoint. In a varied capacity. Is that fair? Or do you have any experiences on that front?
Yeah, for sure. So when I started out my career, I started out actually doing, I was at a nightclub in downtown Vancouver. I was working behind the bar, and then I was also doing valet, different shifts, so it wasn't the same time.
But order of operations is really important there.
Totally, yeah. And they had a need for somebody to support their network, and they were faxing events out. Like, this is old school, right? But they need somebody to help them with their technology. And at that time, I was going through my MCSE training and things like that. And so that's where I got my start, was working part-time for a nightclub in Gastown in downtown Vancouver. It was part-time. And then an opportunity came up at the Insurance Corporation of BC, at ICBC. And it was a little older technology then, but just like you were saying, I was kind of pigeonholed into doing that one thing. I worked with the department was called called end user product support.
Okay.
So we said it's called OOPS. Not only is it our department name, it's also our disclaimer or whatever, but it was quite funny. But yeah, pigeonholed in there. And, and then I went to .com after that. And again, very limited set of technology that I could support. But like you said, when I had the opportunity to move to Calgary, and now you're working at these MSPs, you're supporting a number of different clients with a number of different technology and products and solutions in their environment. Some are the same, but there was some very different. You get the opportunity to work with different processes, different technologies, different people, which is another big thing too, right? So if you're looking to get a start in the technology space, MSPs is ideal because you do get to talk to all sorts of different people if you're working at a help desk, but you also get to support different technologies, and it's a learning ground, right? An incubator for you to kick your career off in.
And so even leading those more senior teams in those experiences, you talk about VCIOs, which I know is a personal swear word of mine.
Yep.
But the idea that you're leading these organizations through technology change at such a rapid pace, I'm sure you get a really interesting perspective of some of the macro trends, some of the broader challenges that organizations are having en masse. What are some of the big friction points that you see with how people engage with their service providers?
I would say, the reality is that technology, although technology is changing, everything in technology hasn't changed. Everything's still getting more complex, becoming, there's more and more solutions out there, getting more confusing. And I feel for these business owners, right? Like it's really hard for them to get a handle on the right technology for their business. And I look at like all the talk around AI, right? Well, that was cloud 10 years ago, right? Cloud's a new thing. And every vendor on the planet was saying cloud enabled this, cloud enabled that. Well, now everybody's saying AI enabled this. Well, what's changing your product that's AI enabled? Yeah. Well, nothing. We just put 2 letters in front of it. It's AI enabled, right?
We were trying to bump up our valuation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but that's the reality of it, right? There's these big themes, if you want to call them that come in waves through the technology industry. And AI might be a little bit different, but there is vendors that really aren't doing anything different than they've done over the last 5 years. But now all of a sudden they're the leader in AI, and their solution is AI enabled. And it's just a buzzword to get organizations to, they're doing the latest thing, right? Yeah. And it can be very confusing and complex for business owners.
And so if I'm a business owner, how do I navigate that world? So you've worked in this world for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you know some of the tricks, some of the ins and outs, where things are painted a different color, and where things are actually what they say they are. If I'm a business owner that, let's say I run a small construction company, how on earth am I supposed to navigate that world?
You need help. Like that's the simple answer. And it's a little self-serving here in saying that, but the reality is, when I look at, any technology, let's say storage or network, or pick a technology stream, if you will. In Canada, there's only a few organizations that are going to use all of the features of that technology, right? So let's say networking as an example. You've got vendor A and you've got vendor B, and they each offer 15,000 different features. Majority of the organizations in Canada are only going to need 10 of those features, and they're offered in both of them or all of the streams, right? So understanding that as complex as a technology stream or a technology area may look, it really isn't that complex, right? Most of the time, any technology in that theme will work for your business because you're not using the 14,990 other features within there. You're not Royal Bank. You're not the government of Canada. You're not those big guys that need those features, right? If that makes sense.
100%. And so do you think it's a product of people just getting excited about the possibility of what could be then? Like, why are they getting pulled in these directions?
Salespeople. It is, right? Like it's salespeople and organizations selling more than they need, right? Like it's FUD too, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They're selling that into it. When you start talking security, I have this idea around security. Like obviously the more security you can put into an organization, the better off you're going to be, the more secure it is. But then that comes with downside too, where now your users may not be able to use the technology in the way that they need to in order to do their job because everything is too secure and too locked down. So my sense is if you're 0% secure or 100% secure, there's no such thing as 100% secure, but if you're 99% secure, once you hit that 60 to 70 mark range, the cost to implement additional security controls or additional security things outweigh the value or the benefit of it, right? The bad guys, they're looking for any way into an organization. It's like, think of a bad guy going through your neighborhood, checking out all the car doors. He pulls your door open, it's locked. Okay, he goes to the next one. And the 57th car he goes to, it's unlocked. He's going to go in there and take what he can. But he's not going to worry about breaking into your car because it's unlocked. He's just looking for that easy access. Yeah. And that might be, again, an oversimplification. But the reality is if you spend $100,000 to get 70% secure, you're going to spend another $250,000 to get 72% secure. Yeah.
Well, and I think you're right. It's almost like that bell curve that says, there is that sweet spot right in the middle that says, and maybe the percentages for just the sake of this conversation are, 50 to 70% is your sweet spot.
Yep.
At some point, you get diminishing returns.
Right.
And at some point, you actually start to hinder the things that security is there actually to do, which is allow you to work properly anyways.
Right. Well, I'm working with an organization right now where they've got application whitelisting turned on. Yeah. So what that does is it says this application can do these things within this box. Yeah. And if this application tries to do anything outside of the box, don't allow it to do it. It can't do it, right? Well, the security was so strict in that application whitelisting that the employees weren't able to do their work, that they ended up just giving the admin rights to that whitelisting application, so that they could just turn it on and off as they needed to. So what's the point in paying for a security tool like that if you're not using it properly, right? So there's that balance between actually securing the business and allowing and enabling your employees to continue to do their jobs.
And so I know you and I have these conversations, and sometimes you come up with those fun stories that are very, very practical and real in organizations. But there's so many of them where the rock just hasn't been turned over. So how are organizations supposed to know if they have a growing list of softwares, they have growing lists of vendors, they have all of these things that they're having to manage? What are some recommendations that you have for them to be able to actually identify some of those exact stories you're talking about, to help them see some of those challenges, be either their points of friction, or they might be security gaps, they might be overspend.
So again, a little self-serving, but get some help. And the reality is, so I'm working with another organization too, where there's a person on staff who's been responsible for their technology for the last 20 plus years. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. Right? You get kind of not pigeonholed, but you're in your own technology environment. You don't really know what's out there. So get outside help, get that devil's advocate, get somebody in there to take a look at things and say, don't worry about that rock there. Just leave that unturned for now. We really need to turn over these three rocks and take a look at what's under there.
Right. So more of that guide that not necessarily comes in and starts turning all the screws and
that's right.
Unbuckling everything, but rather just helps you navigate a fairly uncertain world right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And helps you simplify it, right? Like that's the whole thing I think that I can bring anyways is simplifying that complexity. Yeah. I think that there is a lot of complexity out there. There's a lot of, 80% of the stuff out there, maybe that's high, I don't know. Yeah. But a large percentage of stuff out there is crap, right? Like you don't need to worry about that. You've got this, you don't need that. Or you've got those three things, you only need one of them, right?
Yeah. No, and I think that's a really important point. We're going to hold you to the fact that 80% of things are crap. It's going to go on your social media next week.
Is that Pareto's Law, 80-20?
Sure. Yeah. 80% of things are 20% of crap.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but I think you bring up a really important point, which is that people don't necessarily know what they know, and they just need that kind of helping hand to be able to get through that. If you think about a really important thing as you're getting started with organizations, one of the things that we've talked about before is the importance of that fit and the importance of that connection.
Yep.
So what are if I was a business owner and I was evaluating potential Kyles or potential consultants or people that would be coming into organizations, what are some of the things that they should be looking for in vetting out that partner that's going to guide them through that?
Well, I think it's someone who's got some experience, right? And not just experience, being an IT manager, right? Like experience in various organizations. And I think culture fit or personality fit's an important thing too, right? Like you don't want somebody in there just shooting down everything. I've got an understanding that when decisions are made, they're never made like for the wrong reasons, right? They might have had different information. They might have had different constraints, budget constraints as an example, and that's why we put these switches in instead of those switches in. But they're never made in jest, right? Like those decisions were made for a reason. So having that understanding that, you can't tell business owners, that their baby's ugly, right? It's like it is what it is. The decision was made back then. There's some challenges now. They might have even known that they were going to run into these challenges based on the decision they made. But I don't remember the question, but that's a good one. Talking through it, right?
And I think you bring up a good point, which is the idea of that knowledge and understanding, what the world looks like. What else is important in terms of picking the right partnership with a consultant that's going to guide you through some of this change?
That's a great question. I think that really boils down to personality fit and experience, right? Experience and I would say connections too, right? Like I've worked in the industry for 27, 28 years, but 20 of those years have been in Western Canada. I know the players, I know the vendors, I know the game, and you see these people not jumping from vendor to vendor, but they've been at
there's
different
a cycle.
vendors. Yeah, there is a cycle for sure, right? So, having an in to those sorts of people and saying, hey, 2 stops ago, you were over at ABC company. Like, what happened over there? Oh, we had leadership change and their focus is now on this instead of that, right? Whatever it may be. So I think having those connections is important as well. But it really boils down to like I said, experience and the personality fit.
Yeah. How much is AI starting to come into the conversations that you're having, both in how you work, but also in the customers that you're working with?
It is, right? It's in everyone's ears. I think the reality is, business owners are having a problem, or not having a problem, but challenged with just implement AI. AI is out there. If you're not implementing AI, you're in trouble. You're going to fall behind. But what the heck does that mean, right? If you look at it, you could even say that AI has been around for a long time when you start talking about things like automation, right? All AI, there's a lot more that AI can do for you, and it's become more and more every day, every week, every month. But really, what is your strategy around AI? You take a look and understand where it can help your business and where it can help the things that you need to get done within your business. I don't think that... actually, I won't say that. I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. The cliffhanger. I like it.
The cliffhanger. Yeah.
That'll be on part 2.
Yeah, that's right. Part 2.
What about in terms of areas you see where people get started with you?
Yeah.
And so, are there common catalysts? Are there common questions? Is there a turning point where someone says, "Hey, you know what? I really know that I need to make this leap," or is it really unique for each business?
No, it's actually pretty steady from what I'm seeing, and it is. Business owners want to answer the question: am I getting value from my technology and from my technology partners, and are we doing the right things that we need to be doing? That's that point. That question comes to a boiling point for them, and that's typically when I get involved.
And so, obviously that's something that's on the tip of everyone's tongue, and they're curious about it because they've been told for so long, you need this, you need this, you need this CRM, you need this add-on over here, you need to upgrade your Microsoft licensing. And I think that, especially with the prevalence of some of the software platforms moving to subscription models, the growing headcounts on some of these items, like the spend is going up and up and up.
Right.
What are some of those first steps that you'll take when you go into an organization to turn over some of those rocks, as you mentioned, and help them find those quick wins to be able to actually deliver some of those wins back to their organizations?
So it's really working with the businesses and understanding what the business is doing. Okay. What are their business needs? What are their goals? What are their objectives now, 6 months, 3 years, 5 years out? As an example, you say they've always been told they need to upgrade their Office 365 license. They need a new CRM. They need to do that. Who's telling them to do that? Microsoft? The CRM vendors out there, right? That's the reality of it, right? People it's like, people always think that they have to have the newest, greatest truck or the biggest house or the Joneses are in trouble. Like the Joneses aren't doing everything that you think they're doing, right? And I think we see a bit of that in the business world as well. But really, it needs to start off. So you need to have an understanding of your business, You need to have an understanding of where you're going, who you want to be, what your goals are, what your objectives are, and then we tie technology to that. Too many times I've seen this for years and years. We start with technology and we try to cram it into the business and cram the business around that technology. It's the wrong way to do it. Start with your business, start with your business needs, objectives, and goals, and then put the technology around it, because there is technology that will fit nicely around any business and any a business objective or goal that you're aiming for.
Yeah, well, and to put it in perspective too, and bringing it back to a point you made earlier, it actually helps if you can understand those things and you can understand what problems you're trying to solve.
Right.
And you can understand the challenges that are in front of you, and actually selecting the right platforms too, and saying, okay, well, I don't need these 10,000 features on platform X. I actually only need these 3 things.
Right.
And those 3 things come at a cost that is a fraction of what some of those big ticket other items are.
Right. And then the business can say, you know what, in order for us to fix that problem, it's going to cost us X dollars. Yeah. And there's value in that. I don't mind spending X dollars on that because it's going to fix that problem. And the reality is sometimes it might not even be 3 sets of software or technology or platforms that you need. It might only be 1. Yeah. But if you really understand the problem that you're trying to solve, it's easy to tie and put the technology in there to fix it.
So we've talked a lot about the idea of this understanding of the business from a really fundamental and functional level. Are there sources of conversation? Are there sources of inspiration or information in those businesses as you're starting to turn over those rocks that are often neglected or underserved when you're getting all of those perspectives?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
What a great question. Not that I've experienced so far. The organizations I've talked to have a good understanding of that. And it's not just the business owners that I'm talking to, right? It's the end users. We do surveys and interviews with key people to understand their perspective on it as well. Because sometimes when you just talk to the business owner, they've got a perspective on what's happening from a technology standpoint within their business. But if you're not feet on the street or on the ground, you really don't know, right? Yeah. So having those conversations with many different layers and people within the business is really important.
Perfect. And I'm glad you said that as well, because I think that well-rounded perspective, not just coming from their leadership team, but having the perspective of their users or their customers or some of those non-traditional elements that are sometimes left alone, I think you're right, gives such an enormous perspective to the whole problem.
Yeah. And just to give you an example too, like one of the questions I ask people, the first one is like, how would you rate your MSP or your service provider on a scale of 1 to 10? And I've seen in one organization everything from a 3 to an 8, right? And the user experience is typically 6 and below is what I'm seeing. The leadership experience is in that 7, 8, 9 area. But it's easy when it's escalated or your VP's calling in for technical support. They're going to get Johnny on the spot. When little old accountant Susie or whoever is calling in, that's where the real experience is seen, right?
I completely agree. From an MSP standpoint, why do you think so many organizations settle for good enough when it comes to their MSPs? Because I know we've shared this conversation over a beer. There's so many companies that kind of live in this land of lukewarm.
Yep.
They know that it could be better, but they're just terrified to do anything different.
Right.
Do you know why that is?
I think it's because good enough is better than potentially better. If you know what I mean, like change is hard, change is costly, and change just for the sake of change or potentially better, like that's hard to do, right? That's a hard decision to make. Yeah. The reality is, I think that in most cases, the cases that I've seen where organizations have changed MSPs, it's always for the better, right? It's not potentially better, it is better, and good enough isn't cutting it anymore, right?
But do you think that's because they've learned some of those lessons around what they're actually looking for? Because I think that I received a text from a friend this morning saying, "Hey, can you text me 3 MSPs that are good in the city?"
Yeah.
And
were you able to?
Well, I could point them towards 3 great MSPs.
Yeah.
But it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
You know this because
totally.
A great MSP for Deliver Digital.
Yep.
might be an awful MSP for Suncor.
Yeah.
And it might be a medium MSP for a design studio. And so there's so much context that's required, and it's really more of a matchmaking game rather than who is really good. It's
like me asking you, can you recommend 3 good cars for me?
Yeah.
Sure. A Mustang, F-350 pickup truck, and a Honda Civic. Well,
first of all, we need to be thinking way bigger. we need the Lambo. We need the.
I was just going easy, but you're right. But the reality is, well, what do you need it for?
Yeah.
What do you want to drive to Edmonton super fast? Do you want to? Are you going backwards to drive? There's a million questions to ask around that, and that's the same when you're picking out an MSP. And the truth is that may change over the years. Like one of the organizations I'm working with, they've been with their MSP for 6 years. They might have been a great MSP for them when they first started out in the first couple of years, but they've grown, their business has changed, and their technology and their partnership needs have changed. So they're just a good enough MSP for them now.
Yeah, right? There's seasons for everything, right? Yes. And I think that as businesses grow and evolve, either your partners keep up with you or they don't, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, I think, a truth that people need to acknowledge as they're along that journey.
It's the evolution,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have 2 more questions for you.
Oh, okay.
The real hard hitters. So the first one, what is your favorite question to ask as you're getting started with a customer? So if you were to only ask one question, going in your first meeting, if you were only able to ask one question in that meeting, what would that be?
It would be open-ended for sure. It would probably be something like, tell me about the relationship with your current MSP.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would lead to more questions, of course, but that's just a good starting point, right? Because it for me, it starts out with a relationship, not necessarily a value or a support standpoint, but it gets there, right? Like when you start talking relationship, it's like, just this one guy, it's like, our account exec is awesome. We love dealing with him, but... right? Like that's kind of how it started off, right? And it was a ramble on for 10 minutes, right? It hits on so many different points.
Yeah, you almost find like you're a therapist in some of these scenarios where you're just pulling in all this context.
That's right.
And helping guide them through that.
Yeah.
No, I love that, and I think that it does start with a relationship, and then it kind of snowballs from there.
That's right.
Lastly, if there was one thing that you wish people knew about you before they got started working with you, what would that one thing be?
I would say that I've been there, I've done it, I've seen a lot. I wouldn't say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot in working with MSPs. I had this revelation about, 6 or 7 years ago when I was at my 3rd or 4th MSP, and they're in the same business. All these MSPs I've worked at and led teams at, they're in the same business, but they all do it very differently, which is kind of interesting, right? When you're out doing the same things, providing the same services, providing the same things in the same line of business to your customers, how they do it so drastically different, right? Whether it's we do more on site, we have more personal touch, we use this tool, we don't use that tool, we do that manually. Here's how we reconcile our books. Here's how we look at financials. They're different. And it's crazy to me that you could have 2 businesses doing the exact same thing, providing the exact same service to organizations, completely different on the back end.
Yeah.
So.
No, that is
so like I say, I've been there. I've seen a lot. I'd never say I've seen it all because every day you're surprised you see something different. But I've seen a lot, and I've worked with a lot of different organizations while at those MSPs. So everybody from the 1-2 person shop all the way up to the large organizations, some of the larger names in the city.
Amazing. Well, I feel like I could talk to you for another 4 hours, Kyle. But we'll save everyone from that.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for the chat today. I'm super excited to have you on the team, and we're excited to see what we can do.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to be here, and thanks for your time. It was easy chat, right?
Cool.
So, yeah,
I love it. Thanks so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Cheers.